Good evening. My name is Ray Dwyer. This is Dr. Joe Dispenza's Meditation and Book Discussion Group. Tonight, we're discussing Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Chapter 8, Mystification, Meditation, Demystification, the Mystical, and the Waves of Your Future. We're going to talk about demystifying meditation, normalizing it, making it a human experience and not something woo-woo. There's actually a book out, and I bought it because I love the title. It says, Why Does Woo Woo Work? For real, it's a pretty good book. Yeah, I read it in 1 week. It was just a little book, but it had some really interesting points. Okay. As I've said, I'm on page 175. As I've said, one of the keys to breaking the habit of being yourself is working toward being more observant, whether that entails being more metacognitive or focusing more attention on your behaviors. First, the part of changing yourself. I mean, you're in a book that says breaking the habit of being yourself. That's the theme of the work, is to change from the culture of separation that our society teaches into the culture of consciousness. That's a little bit different than what the world teaches. And how do you do all this? That's the subname of this. How? It's a nice conversation, but how? Well, first you got to know what. In other words, how do you become more observant of your life? The answer is simple: meditation. How does meditation help me be observant of my life? I sit here and go home for an hour and I'm all done. No. Dr. Joe's meditation comes in at a totally different direction. As you do the work, you'll see. Now is the time to explain the workings. On the page of 176, when you move from the unconsciously producing thoughts, beliefs, actions, and emotions and take control of them through conscious application of your will, you can unlock the chains of being your old self. We act through habit and lifestyle and memorized actions 85 to 90% of the time without choice. Just because that's just how this life is. That was a hard thing for me to accept, as when I first started this. I was kind of a tough guy, and that's just who I was. And what do you mean? I choose what I do. Do you really? Okay. Get up from this chair and go sit in that chair and tell me how you did it. You go, what? I can't do that. Put food in your mouth and tell me how you digest it. Really? See, there's very little we do, we choose. We have a intention that we push, but most of our life we don't choose. And so what we're trying to do is get a little bit more aware of that, because that means there's a lot of this life that is pushing us in a direction that we're hoping we want to change. In the Tibetan language, meditation means to become familiar with. Did you know that? That's all it means, to become familiar with. It doesn't mean all this woo-woo stuff and mystical and dancing with angels and channeling. That's totally something else. Meditation is becoming familiar with yourself, because you can't choose against it until you're familiar with it. That's the goal. How can you choose against what you do if you don't even know you're doing it and you think something outside of you is controlling it? It's you. You have the ability to make these choices and change you, but it takes choosing and it takes practice. And that's meditation. Practice is the meditation. After all, to become familiar with anything, you have to spend some time observing it. That's meditation. Again, the key moments in making any change is going from being it to observing it. I had a pretty disruptive case of a habit of being angry all the time. I had to learn to observe it, see what triggered it, and see what I could do to end the trigger. Fighting against the effect never got me anywhere. I had to learn the cause and change the causes that were driving my life. I had to go from observing my new you and becoming the new you. What steps do you normally take when you get serious about doing something differently? You want to learn a new skill. First, you gain a little bit new knowledge, right? I don't care what it is, music, sports, a shop skill, a job skill. That's what school's about. That's what training's about. That's what books are about, to give you new knowledge so that you can make new choices. If you keep trying to choose from the knowledge you already have, from the teachers you already have, your your choices and results will be very similar to the ones you already have. You need new knowledge that teaches you new choices that will drive new effects in your body. That's just the human experience. It's not anti anything. It's just a change. Okay. Therefore, if you eliminate the stimulus from your external world by closing your eyes and becoming quiet, no longer focusing on the linear time, you become aware solely of how you're thinking and feeling. So if you become quiet, your first energy center, put your body in stillness, that's calming your second energy center, and go into linear time and be present, that's your third energy center. You begin to pay attention to your unconscious states of mind and body and become familiar with. You start putting away your activity of your life, start practicing the presence, and that's where you begin. And the blessing of the energy centers, we talk about putting our attention on the three energy centers, 1, 2, 3. The idea, Dr. Joe calls this the induction time, where you're inducting your energy, inducing the energy of you through story and symbols and intention, and drawing the energy that is projecting out, keep you safe. It's not wrong to do that. We live in a dangerous world. I you got to pay attention to what's around you. But when you sit here, when you sit in your chair to meditate, can you practice turning it off for just a short while? I'm not saying you're wrong for going to work and going down the road and being on guard. Oh no. That's what those energy centers are for. That's why you have them, to keep you safe. But when you sit down, can you turn them off? That's the goal of the blessing of the energy centers, is to practice turning them off and inducing those energies back into you so those energies can be used to help heal and strengthen your body. Okay? And the answer to that, can you do it? Yes. You learn to know yourself. That's it. Now let's take one more step. You have become familiar with the old self and extent of no thoughts, no behavior, no feelings. Will you fall unconsciously into previous patterns? Now that you're aware of it, will you allow yourself to fall in those previous patterns? Now, I'm not saying you can just say no, make them go away, and you're all better. It's not that easy, is it? Because the body is a slow learner. You can read a book and change your mind in the reading of a good, well-written book. The body goes, I don't care. I'm going to keep doing what you train me to do. The body takes repetition and intensity to change what it has learned from the past. The more intense the training, the lesser it takes. The more casual the training, more repetitions it takes. At least that's what I found when I was trying to learn music as a young guy. I didn't care, so it took tons of repetition. I never was good at it. I eventually learned it mechanically, but I was never really good at it. What is a greater expression of myself that I would like to be? Dr. Joe says people change for one of two reasons: trauma that knocks them off their life pattern, and love of the future self that calls them in a new direction. I broke because I had a life-threatening cancer that took away all my choices. And I was left with nothing of my past life to fall back on. And by finding teachers like Dr. Joe, I began to build a new future self. Let's say, well, I'm healthy and fine. What do I do? Well, the ingredient still works. Can you find a future self to love and call you? Can you? Is there a future self that you would love to wake up to? Dr. Joe has a lesson that he sells called the Abundance Course. The Abundance Course is absolutely nothing to do with money. It's an abundance of heart, is what he's talking about. And in that Abundance Course, he has two primary ideas. The course goes on for hours, but there's two big ideas that just touched me and changed my life. The primary idea is purpose. What is your purpose? This falls in line with loving your future self. Purpose isn't a job you do. Purpose is the compass in your life. You never complete your purpose. That's what you wake up to. That's your compass in your life. Do you have a compass, a purpose that kind of pulls you each day? You're watching me express mine. You really are. This doing this for you guys and with you guys. It just I've done this my 6th year doing it, and I have my days, but I sit down and talk to you guys, and I can't think of anything I want to do more. This is my purpose points me here. The second word is goals. Oh, one more thing about purpose. You never fail at purpose. It can't be something achieved. It can't be something failed. It is a direction that calls you. Goals is something you set a goal and you don't achieve it, and then you achieve it. And as a reward, you select another goal that you don't achieve or don't achieve. It's kind of like, oh, this is self-abusive. This is terrible. But that's how life works. Because every time you achieve a goal, you go, oh, I'm here. Okay, what's the next thing? And you start learning something new and working on it. And the first phase of learning something new is you can't do it, right? So it's kind of like the particle and the wave thing. I got off on that because I was talking about loving your future self. To love your future self, find a purpose to wake up to, and then start selecting a chain of goals to reach that purpose. A chain, not a crowd, a chain. Line them up. I got this goal, this goal, and this goal, and start working on them. And you don't have to change jobs, change addresses, change relationships. Just pick that purpose, that's that compass in you, and start building a chain of goals that that walk you in the direction that compass is calling you. Okay, back to the lesson. And if you repeat this process every day, your ideal self will become familiar in your mind. If you repeat your purpose every day and those goals line up on you, it will be there and your life will start changing. It's just how it works. Let me summarize. It says here on page 180. According to our working model of meditation, all you have to do is remind yourself who you no longer want to be until that becomes so familiar that you know the old self, thoughts, and behaviors. And you start learning, you repeatedly contemplate, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? You have learned who you don't want to be. Now, who do you want to be? There's a gap there for many people. I don't know what I want. Keep working at it. You know what you don't want. I saw a conference, Dr. Joe was confronted by a guy. This is a few years back when he would walk around, take questions. I don't know if he does that now. And this guy says, I keep hearing you say, fall in love with your future. I don't know my future. I don't know how to get there. And Dr. Joe walked off to him and looked at him. I mean, he looked at right and said, no, look at me. He said, yeah, I want you to imagine I am your worst nightmare. Right. Now, what do you want to do? I want to get away from you. Okay. First step, turn around and go away. That's the first step. If you don't know what you want, when you know what you don't want, just pick another direction and start walking and start looking for that compass direction. And any movement is better than being stuck, is the answer to the question. My hope is that you understand by now that it's impossible to create any new future when you're rooted in your past. If you are clinging to your past, it's hard to choose a new future because you got all your emotional value tied to holding that past. So part of the process of doing this is learning to let go. Throughout this chapter and the next chapters, you'll see the word surrender. Boy, that was a tough word for me. Let me redefine the word for you to make it a little bit easier to start with. It's letting go of the things we hold on to our past. When you start letting go, you start freeing up energies so that you can start doing something new. None of this is done on a whim. It's done by choice and effort. There's an interesting chart on page 182. It's called a biological model of change. It's a human thing, and that's what this type of meditation is. It's a human thing of change. The familiar past is unlearning. To replace it with new learning. See how easy that is? Losing your mind and creating a new mind. Losing your mind is all this stuff you used to worry about. I'm going to lose all that stuff. Now I'm going to think of all the things I want to create and do something new. I'm going to let go of the old energy and I'm going to learn this new frequency, this new energy that I want. That's all it is. Even Einstein says everything is energy. The particle does not create the wave. The wave forms the particle. It's about the energy, about the frequency. To break the habit of being yourself, you would be wise to select one trait, propensity, or character to focus on your attention on that single aspect of your old self that you want to change. Sometimes all you got to do is learn to let go, let go. Well, but sometimes it's like a habit, a lifestyle that you can't leave a vacuum to. And you want to change that lifestyle. And when you quit doing that, now what do? Right? Sometimes, let's say, I'm going to pick on an easy one. Let's say smoking. There's probably nobody in this group that smokes anymore. So I'll pick on that one. Let's say smoking. How do I live without smoking? Do something else. Okay. I understand smoking is chemical, habit, mind suggestion, all the above. So's drinking. So's a whole list of other things. So let's just focus on smoking. So what you do is you find a temporary substitute. Chew gum if you have to. Every time you want a cigarette, put gum in your mouth, chew it, act it, and spit it out until you break the habitual mind-body action with the smoking. Find something to replace it with. And then you freed up that one, and now you're free to make a new choice. The process of change requires unlearning first. And that's an example of how to unlearn. When those thoughts and feelings that used to signal the body are stopped by the conscious efforts, the liberated energy from those limited emotions is released to the field. You now have energy with which to design and create your destiny. That was an expression that I used to really puzzle over. I mean, when I let go of this, I've got loose energy that I can use. I never under. What do you mean? I've got energy I can. What is that? If you're not worrying about something, you feel better. If you feel better, you can do more with your day. How's that for a simpler view? Only when we make the separation can we change. Only when we think greater than the big three can we live independent. If the three energy centers are what's controlling our choices of our day, time, environment, if they're ruling your day, you're going to find it very hard to make the changes that we're talking about here. You've got to learn. I don't mean out there, I mean here in this chair. Can you let go of those just for a little while you sit here? Break the habit for just a short while here. Begin doing that. It's doable. Research has discovered a wide scope of brain wave frequencies in humans, ranging from delta and other brain waves that do different things. The next few pages, he goes into a pretty big scope of discussion of brain waves. I'll touch on them, but I'm not going to go through the big part like the book does. I think it's something you need to know, and I'm not going to spell it out. I'll get it. So you need to know what beta brainwaves are, alpha brainwaves, theta, delta, and gamma is the assortment of brainwaves that Dr. Joe talks about. Why does it matter? Because these different categories are the separation points that you go through in your meditation. Once you know what all these domains are, you will be more adept at knowing when you are in the brainwave state, where the ego tries to in vain to change the ego. God knows I've been there, he says. And when you are in the brainwave state, that is the fertile ground for true change. That is knowing how to, being aware of them is probably the first step. And so read this chapter, learn what delta, theta, alpha, the three levels of beta waves, learn about them. For instance, in beta, you're paying attention to what I'm talking about at some level. You're in beta brainwaves. Some of you are just heard it a dozen times, so you're probably in the lower level of beta. Some of you are challenged by something and you're trying to learn it, and so you're in high beta. In others, it's interesting and you're in the middle, and that's second level beta wave. And this is the interest. This is where we live in this busy society. It's just where we live. But when you're here, you're not programming the body. You're learning. Your sensory input is recording in your big cortex here. Alpha wave is below that. That's that beginning of sleep state. That's where you're conscious, but your body is partially asleep. It's where the subconscious starts receiving its programs. When it, what's it say? You relax. You become less preoccupied with the elements of your outer world, and the internal world begins to consume your attention. Theta in adults, theta waves emerges in the twilight state of the lucid state, during which some people find themselves half awake and half asleep. This is the state where the hypnotherapists can access the subconscious. That's where the subconscious programming happens. Delta, is in part where you go to sleep and go unconscious. But there's a second delta where you go to sleep and your consciousness just kind of leaves your body and your body is asleep, but you're all sailing in the stars. These terrains are something you can achieve deliberately with practice. On page 190, there's a nice little chart that gives you a graphic of the wave speeds of the brain waves, beta, alpha, theta, delta, and gamma. Gamma is an interesting one because when you fall through the chart, it's interesting because you start at beta with busy and it gets slower and slower through theta into delta, and something happens in delta when you let go and you go through the gate and your brainwave activity explodes frequency. You've gone to almost into a deep unconscious where your brainwaves are real sleep, and then you go through the doorway and your brainwave wakes up highly active, and yet your body's laying there totally unconscious, and your brain is firing away. That's gamma. It's a life-changing event if you ever get there. I'm going to pass on all the discussion of the three brainwaves. High beta is the outer world. Beta can't easily. In view of the emotions that grip you, you're thinking in the past and trying to predict the next moment based on the past, and your brain can't process the present moment. That's what you're trying to get past, is to let go of the things we hold on to, because the body has a tenacious memory. Why? Because it's built that way to keep you safe. It remembers that pothole on the road that you drove on and scared the tar out of you when your car went boom, boom. You're going to remember that pothole when you ever get near that intersection again. That's why it's there. It's a good thing. But we never learned how to turn it off. There's not a pothole on every intersection in town, just that one. So what we're doing is first we're becoming self-aware. Then we're choosing a new route to take, knowing that one's there, releasing it from our present moment and letting it go, and then practicing a new self, knowing that we practice through different brainwave activities, different brainwave frequencies. We get to those brainwave frequencies by learning how to do these meditations of breathing and relaxing, and letting the tension of the day and releasing the tensions of those three energy centers so that we can get into our present moment. It's really the goal. At any time when you're in the beta range frequencies, that's the high level of mind, and you're thinking and worrying, one of the big three will be more of your attention. If you're working here, if you're sitting in this chair trying to meditate and you're way up and you can just feel your activity, it's because one of these three have a memory that's working in you and you haven't learned to let go of it. That's part of the skill that we practice through this book. All right. I'm going to pause a minute because the next part gets into awareness and the working models of meditation. So I'd like to hear somebody talk to me about their brainwave activity experiences and the experiences they've had trying to let go of the past and stuff like that that we've talked about in this first section of this chapter. We're trying to demystify what meditation is, and I'm trying to show you this is simply taking control of the automatic mind that runs our lives. Anybody want to talk to me about that? Everybody knows what beta waves are and things like that. Sunita, thank you for raising your hand.
Yeah. Um, I can definitely attest to the fact that I've seen changes, like fundamental changes in the way I think after I've started meditating. I I often now catch myself like getting irritated with uh, my better half or my partner, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want to do that. Just stop. And I do it, and then I just immediately become aware. Oh my God, I did it again. Can you just stop that? And then I kind of calm myself down and I put it in the back of my head. And next time, when that trigger of when he says something annoying, it comes, but then I'm like, I actually don't feel that emotion. I can feel it kind of washing over me, which is it's good.
Yes,
I don't
yes.
know how I don't understand the connection, but I can see it happening, and I can see myself things which I want to change that I know that are my weak spots. Like I know you said for you it's anger. For me, it's like a lot of fear about all kinds of things, and I can see
Usually when
that.
somebody tells me all kind of things, it's the environmental things. So that would be your second energy center.
Yeah, I'm not clear on. I mean, I don't have a grasp on that yet, but on
Okay.
that yet, but fear of lots of different emotional situations, and I'm like thinking about what you said last time when you said that you rehearse. So I try to rehearse in my head. When that situation comes up, I'm not going to be, nervous or upset or fear it. I imagine myself being calm and confident. And I don't know how the meditation is helping, but it helps me to actually do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It helps you because as you practice in the meditation, your mind has something new that it's familiar with. I was never familiar with not being angry. Isn't that a silly thing? I was so angry all the time that what do I do if I'm not angry? So practice gives your mind a second choice of, okay, I don't have to be this way. I can be that way. The second thing in your conversation is find what is triggering in you, not in him, not his behavior, but of his behavior. What is the string it is pulling in you?
Oh yes,
Remember when I,
you're
yeah,
absolutely right.
remember when I said about forgiveness? Forgiveness is never about the other person. It's about you. When somebody does something and you go, it's about what happened in here, not what he did.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, something happened today over a very trivial kind of a thing. And I felt myself, getting upset. And then I realized, wait a minute, I don't want to be upset about this. Why am I getting upset? But I was able to, in that moment, think through and say, okay, I can feel that I'm getting defensive. And it's not his fault. He's just saying whatever he's saying. Why am I getting defensive? I have to lower the volume on that defensiveness. I don't need to
Right.
be defensive.
Right. Um, when I was learning to break the habit of being angry and fearful, one of the things that used to really trigger me, as an example, just everybody has their own walk. I would go through the VA hospital, and these veterans who were every bit as angry as I was, and real combat kind of guys, would flare up stuff in me just walking by them. And I would just respond to their energy. And I said, "Stop that, Ray. What's going on?" "Oh, I am just, because of my resonance in me, I'm responding in like kind." And so I started doing something to break the habit. And I'd walk up to guys, shake the hand, and say, "How you doing today?" And they'd look at me, "What do you want?" I was just feeling, and I just tell them not about them. I was just feeling crappy, and I needed to say, just I got to watch my language tonight for some reason. I wasn't feeling well, just disturbed, and I wanted to say hi to somebody, and you were there, so I said hi. "Oh, hi. You want a cup of coffee?" "I'm buying." "Oh, you buying a cup of?" "Yeah." And we'd sit down and have a conversation. And I only had to do that a few times before the habit of responding to these guys quit. Now I go through and I just say hi to people. It's something in you resonating with the energy that he put out that is triggered. That's the mechanism. It's always something in here. I had to go back to things in my childhood to get things to quit. It's all about what are you holding on to? Not consciously. We're not talking about the conscious stuff was easy to get rid of. It was in your face, you got rid of it. It's the subconscious old things that your body hasn't let go of yet. That's what's triggering. That's where you look. Pretty soon, your husband can be a klutzy man like I am, and you just kind of love him and say, "I know him. He's my sweetheart." And he's going, "Ah."
Yeah, it's getting better. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I give my wife plenty of opportunities for that. Okay. iPhone, I see you online again.
Yeah, hi Ray. So on the part where you go unconscious and then the reaction happens, you didn't catch it. I have this senior citizen father, and I didn't really sign up for this job, and it is beyond. It feels beyond my sanity breaking point sometimes. Trying to care for somebody that doesn't seem to want to match that effort, and you almost single-handedly keep the person alive, and even then they don't do the pills properly, they don't do anything to help, and so I don't know if it's because I never accepted it or whatnot, but when it causes the trigger, like you missed it, and you went unconscious, and you're like, sound like Jerry Maguire, help me, help you, and you feel like, darn it, and then you have that energy in the body. What do you do to ground that out? I mean, I'm aware. I think the lower chakras are shaky ground, so I don't have a great grounding mechanism, but I know it's something that you
I think
also
that's a
probably work in.
very
Yeah.
that's a very real question about very real issues. I'm 76 years old. I have a friend that lives across the street that's about 5 or 8 years older than me, and his wife has gone over the years totally dementia, and most of the time she doesn't know who he is, and he just cares for her. What heartache can that be? His life is giving to a woman he loves for many, many years, who no longer knows who he is most of the time. How do you do that? You decide every morning to give. No strings attached. No, no expectations. My life is to give to this individual and walk away. That's it. Expect nothing in return except maybe abuse. The goal is simple. Get up and serve. When you can go to bed at night and say, "I served the best I knew how," then you had a successful day. Is it easy? I'm watching this guy across the street and I'm watching his eyes. He's heartbroken. This woman he loved all his life, he's been with her, but he serves her. How hard is that? Oh my goodness. And yet, that's what he does. He gets up, he has one goal in life. He serves his wife, who doesn't know him anymore most of the time. Put that in your hat, wear it. Someday, with the help of my friends, it'll be a long way away. My son may be serving me that way. I hope I am gracious with him. Not everybody is. I'm 76 now. That time away is now something in the conversation for me and my wife, particularly when we see other retired folks going into it. You serve. You serve with no strings attached. You serve in your actions and you serve in your heart and you walk away. God, that's a hard one. But that's all.
No, that's very powerful. Yeah, I think I can just embrace it as a gift of an opportunity to give in general, and I will incorporate that. Thank you. In general, when you do get spun up, do you have a practice of a grounding mechanism that you do too? Because for me, that angst energy exists in my body and I'm aware of it, and I don't feel like I have other than time and consciously trying to breathe through things. I don't have necessarily a great way to just connect that to a grounding bar and just dump that energy.
What do I actually do? I get up in the morning the next morning and I cry to my teacher and I cry to my guides. Don't let me pick this up again. I lived in that for a lot of years. And every now and then it shows its ugly face and I get caught up in something. And I go, oh my God, what am I doing? And I just, please don't let me do that again.
Yeah.
It's a habit. It's not only an emotional habit, it's a chemical habit in the body. Be careful. It's a chemical habit in the body. And when the body gets a chemical habit, it wants it. And it will just do all kind of terrible things to have that fix. You got to break the habit of the chemistry as well as the emotional and attitude. And that takes time. And the more you rehearse it, the more embedded that chemical is in your mitochondria, in your cells. And it takes a long time to get those cells clean of a chemical like that. So you just do it as a service and walk away clean. Expect nothing in return. He's got nothing to give you anymore. You give it as a free service and walk away.
Thank you, Ray.
That's a hard one. Oh my goodness. Okay. Talk to you later. Thanks for that tough conversation. Terry, I see your hand up. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Um, I wanted to also chime in on the last question because I actually went through this. My dad is 80, and last month he was very severe with his leg. They were about to amputate it. He had a really bad infection. And I feel like when we're talking about meditation and preparing the mind, sometimes these external factors can really take a toll internally.
Yes.
And I would like to also add, without going into detail, I have a son who is in the Air Force, and with everything going on in the world, in the last couple weeks, it was really putting me kind of overlapped. My dad's situation, taking care of him. And mind you, my dad has been very negative as well. I've started applying, sharing with him the wisdom that I've learned. I've been in this book study now since You Are the Placebo. And then we did the last book, and now we're doing this one. And I've actually kind of tried to role model with him the belief that he is healed, talking to his body, using what we have learned to share with him. And it was so hard. At times, I myself cried because of frustration and stored energy of frustration of working with my dad. And one way that has helped me grounding is hiking in nature. Being surrounded by nature has really helped me. Listening to the Joe Dispenza audiobooks while hiking in nature has really helped me. And of course, the meditations. The meditations really have helped me. And from there, I'm going to step into the different waves, pattern waves of the brain. Um, like I mentioned, I was under a lot of tremendous stress. I would say even slight depression going through the situation with my son and my father. And I had to surrender. I had to really surrender and believe and grab on to what I knew, which was the meditations, and live out through the meditations what I wanted to experience in the now. And I feel like at times I felt a little fearful because sometimes I would wake up from my meditation and not knowing what was reality. And
Right.
it can make you feel a little crazy. You're like, what the heck is going on? And I just want to share my dad's doing a lot better now. And I can see that this practice, and I'm so thankful for these book studies because it really has changed my brain. It's changed my
Thank you.
whole being. And yeah, thank you. And yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Thank you for letting me share.
Very beautiful. You're doing so much right, just like you said. Always remember a life lived speaks louder than a book taught. I was early in this work when I was really excited about it. I got really mouthy about it, and someone told me, "Shut up." What? No. She says you misunderstood. And I said, "What?" Just like I got all this stuff. Just like I got to tell the world all this good stuff. And she says, "Don't tell me, show me." And she said it in a way that was like ringing a bell in my head. Anybody ever tell you something that just goes deep? You heard it one time and it was so exactly what you needed to hear. All it took is one expression. Show me, don't tell me. I stood there just totally shut up in the moment, and it changed my life. And I set about learning enough that I could say, this is what I do. And that's why I stress it here, because not only do I study the book and teach the book, I do the book. And I tell you what I do of the book, and then I tell you how it affected me. That's why I'm that way. So you just keep doing what you were doing. You did really good, and you just keep showing them.
I just wanted to share one last thing. I guess this goes in connecting the last chapter of closing the gap, making sure that we are walking the walk even when we are in the midst of the challenges, and when we are alone, closing the gap, being the same whether we're with them or by ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's something I've been really focusing on. And I also want to share one last thing I forgot. My daily mantra was for God to give me health and give me faith. Just give me health to have a clear mind to be able to continue to come back to the meditations, ground, and give me faith Because we all say we have faith, but the continuous practice and the living it through the meditation is really giving it to me. Thank you.
You said a couple things that set off some conversation. First of all, don't ask to be given something you already have access to. If you don't have it, it's because you're not doing it right. That sounded as critical as I meant it to be. You don't ask the divine to give it to you because he's going to look at you and say, I already gave it to you. You go, what are you talking about? And he'll say, choose. All you have to do is choose. You have to choose letting go of the past that's controlling you, and you have to choose a new future. You have to choose a future self and choose it every morning of the day. And you get it. It's the infinite potential is already there. You already are an heir to the throne and the infinite potential. You just are too busy asking for it to go get it yourself. That sounded as critical as I meant it, because Dr. Joe's work is about you doing it. You ask for a teacher, you have one. Not me. I'm talking about Dr. Joe. I'm just rehearsing what Dr. Joe says. I'm not the teacher, Dr. Joe is. I'm just the character in between. I'm the middleman. You have the new knowledge, apply it like your life depends on it. Choose. Quit asking for it and go get it. How do you go get it? That's what this book is about. You start by letting go of your path. Next step, draw your energies in and up. Next step, get in the present moment and tune into the divine. And show him your future self that you want. You show him, you show the kingdom your future self. Remember last week I talked about the tuning fork. That's your superpower. You show him the frequency you want. Turn it on. Become that frequency of your future self. This is the physics that we're learning, not the woo-woo, the physics. You turn on that future self, that frequency of your future self, and you will absorb the energy of the potential for that which is you. You already are, by the way, but your energy is scattered, so you attract a scattered life. You learn to be coherent, like Dr. Joe talks about. You learn to tune in to that future self. You learn to get your tuning forks clean so that you're resonating coherent, a single energy. And the infinite potential will charge that energy up in you like a tuning fork that absorbs energy from its primary frequency. And then you radiate it, and guess what? Now the reality of this life that matches that frequency will come to you. You do that. You've already been given everything you need. Now do it. Did I ever say that was easy in that conversation? No, it's a booger bear. It took me a few years. And I knew what I was trying to do. I just went at it. But now you've got me pointing it out. That's how important the idea of the future self is. The future self is that new frequency. But remember, the first half of this book is letting go of the old frequency. Now we're going to talk about tuning into the new frequency. We're going to talk about awareness, becoming aware of what you are tuned to. If you find yourself you are just tuned out of that future, that infinite potential coming to you to charge you up, and you got charged up by this other stuff. No, I didn't. How do you feel? When your body instantly gets a chemical release, how do you feel? You got tuned into that other stuff and it filled you up with that other frequency. Now you got to practice going to that new frequency you want and getting filled up with that. It takes practice to overcome the chemistry of years of that old stuff. I know you'll meet some people once in a while who just seem to turn it on and they're there. It's like people who can just play music. Don't compare yourself. You're always loose. If it takes you a while, it takes you a while. Some people's traumas are just have eaten them up in their whole life, and it's going to take them a real heartache to let go of it. Some people's trauma is just a busy mind, and they're just okay. I got to change some habits. Don't don't compare yourself. This is your story. I tell you my story not to tell you to walk my path. I tell you my story to teach you a principle that you can draw from. Okay? And the principle is knowing what you want to let go of and knowing what you're trying to achieve, even if all you knew is a general direction. It's like Dr. Joe said, just pick a different direction and go at it. Okay? Know that different direction and work at it until you get a better and better picture of it. And then keep tuning to it. The more you tune to your future self, the more aware you become every time you get caught up in something else. With all the blessings that I've had, and they were extreme and many, I still get up some morning feeling like a real poopah, mealy mouth. And it's like I look around my house. I've got a wonderful house. I got a wife who just loves me dearly. My bills are paid. I'm in health that just beyond doctors even don't understand why I'm healthy. And I'm walking around my house going, meh, 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 meh. It's like, what's the matter with you today, Ray? And I have to, and it takes some days, it just takes me time to break that chemical that just got in me somehow. Maybe I had a bad dream or something. I don't know. But I know how to end it. I start looking for the happy thoughts. And I get those happy chemicals in me. And by the end of the day, I'm having a good time. Let's be aware and choose your future self. Awareness, not analysis. I'm on page 199. Here's a way for you to know if you are in beta state. If you're constantly analyzing, you're in beta state. If I'm busy and I'm trying to meditate and I'm trying to understand what's going on, then I'm in beta state. I'm not even coming close. Beta state is a busy state. Meditation, you go to receive, to become aware of, perceptive, observe. Uh, Page 200 through 204 are circles of different levels of the developed mind. Very interesting stuff. Helps you understand the challenge of what you're trying to do. Meditation opens the doors between the conscious and the subconscious minds. We meditate to enter the operating system of the subconscious, where all those unwanted habits and behaviors reside. They don't reside up here in the conscious mind. You can read a book, get new information, and decide not to do it, and find yourself still doing it. And change them to more productive modes to support the life we want to live. Meditation takes us from the beta into alpha, theta, and sometimes deeper states. You can train yourself to move up and down the scale of brainwaves. If you do it regular, you'll get conscious of it. You'll feel it. Sometimes you might need a little biofeedback tool. That's why I bought this. I needed a little biofeedback tool because I would think I was doing something. I would feel like I was doing something, but when it was over, nothing was changing. I would just go through my day and I didn't feel touched. I started practicing with the brainwave with HeartMath Institute's inner balance tool. That's what this is called. And I started realizing that a lot of my meditation was just my imagination telling stories. It's an expensive tool, like I said, but it was very effective in teaching me the difference between my imagination and meditation, beta wave stories, and moving into heart and coherence. This allows your brain waves to naturally slow down to alpha. Theta waves frequencies when your body is asleep, and immediately change those negative associations. Do you bless yourself when you go to bed at night? You've heard me say it before. Love yourself first, most, and always. Love yourself until you're like a fountain that overflows. You're like a child again, entering the kingdom of heaven. Let yourself go into that deeper state. So, Nita, I see your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Uh, I just wanted to ask, what could you repeat what that tool was and how?
Oh, this little thing here, I bought this from a company called Heart Math Institute. You can go to Google and say Heart Math Institute, and it'll take you there. And this is the tool called Inner Balance. It's one of the cheaper models. They have different models that go up in cost. What I like about Heart Math is that they don't just sell hardware. You could buy something like this on Amazon, but you get no training. Heart Math Institute has a whole assortment of training with all just on and on and on. So they not only give you the tool, they give you a lot of training to help you become proficient at it so that it really does. So by the time you use this for a while, you can compare where you began and where you are then and say, I have really learned to get heart coherence. I get nothing from this except the satisfaction that oh, thank you, Sonia. That's good. That's go there. The store at heartmath.com. Yeah. The only thing I get out of that is that tool was significant help for me. Okay. Good question, Sunita. I like to wake up and begin the process. When's the best day to meditate? Your brain goes through the two states from melatonin to serotonin twice a day. And during that transition time is the best time to meditate, which is morning and evening. When I wake up early, it's easy for me to go up and get meditate. If I just have one of those days and I just stayed unconscious and didn't wake up till 9:30 plus, every now and then I get caught up in sleep and I just stay asleep. Then I'll probably wait and meditate later because I get up and my head's already turned on. I go, oh my goodness, it's late. I got this and this to do. And that's so much for morning meditation, right? But those are the two good times to meditate is early in the morning and before you go to bed at night. And if you want a nice little morning and evening meditation, Dr. Joe Dispenza has something called daily meditation. It comes with two little meditations in it, one called morning and one called evening. I don't do the morning one very often because when I sit and do my morning meditations, I'm generally working on something. And that morning is just a nice meditation. But his evening meditation, it's so nice to go to. It's about 25, 30 minutes long, and it just is nice. It helps me put away the day. So if you'd like to check into that, I've got it labeled as daily meditations. Of course, I bought mine 5 years ago, so no, more than that. And so it's probably labeled and done differently now. But that's what I do. The best times to meditate is morning and evening. Meditation during the middle of the day might be a little difficult because you got your head turned on, right? I'm an old retired guy, so even when my head's turned on, it's not turned on very much anymore. I have projects that I do and stuff, but if I had to work in the office like I used to, I'd just be locked on and just nothing got in except my work. So I understand. If I had a bunch of kids I had to take care of, daytime is busy with that. So I understand. So the best time to meditate is morning when you first get up and evening. But one of the things I ask first is that, do you bless yourself when you go to sleep at night? The last thing your subconscious should hear is you blessing yourself, saying, I love you. I love you, Ray. You are a beautiful energy being. You are loved by the stars themselves and the angels. I do that. I really do. I suggest something like that. Everybody will have their own version of it. The inward contemplative practices of the retrain the mind, body, and brain is to become present moment. That's the goal, is to become present moment. Can you work on that? The object in meditation is to fall like a feather down from the top. You're not jumping in the deep end. You're working your way down. But keep your mind focused. Have a purpose. Be purpose driven. That's one of the blessings of one of the cool understandings of that abundance course was the word purpose. I watched that video a few times, and that has just gotten into me. You know, you ever have a teaching that just shapes your thinking? That abundance course shaped my thinking, and the word purpose is in me. And purpose is not something you achieve, it's a direction you go. It's like a compass that's set. What's your purpose? Work that direction. And then you set goals. So well, I can't do that, too big. If you ever think your purpose is too big, it's because your goal between step is too big. Okay, take your goal. Well, I can't do that. Okay, divide it in half. Divide it in. If you had one step today to reach that goal, what would you do? Well, I could do that. Okay. I could read a couple of chapters of that book. Okay, read a couple of chapters of that book so that when the end of the day, you can say you took a step in your direction of your goal until that goal is complete. And then you go, okay, what's my next step? Okay, try to practice what was in the book. Okay, I'm going to try to do what that book said 3 times a day. I didn't get 3 times. I only got 1 time. Okay, tomorrow, try to do it 3 times a day. You practice your goals in the direction of your compass, your purpose. That's kind of like picking your future self. I know you're not going to pick your future self and get there tomorrow. I'm a pretty real guy. But I also know that if that purpose is something that points you like a compass, that you can find goals, steps that you can make, small steps that you can allow yourself to fail at again and again and again until you get that goal. Till you get that goal and go, good, I finally made this goal. And I can do this step now. Okay, what's my next goal? What's my next step? That's how you do it. I know you can't do what these meditations are saying right now. So what? Will you allow yourself to set the goal that allows yourself to work at something until you can? I'm telling you, it took me a couple of years to do some of this stuff. It took me 1 year to have my first big healing. And that year was 3 times a day of meditation. Couple of them were hour long, and so I was in meditation 3 times every day, and I went at it fiercely because I didn't know any other way. And I worked at it for a full year. Around the 10th month, I started having breakthroughs, and by the time of the 12th month, I was on the floor rolling around getting healed. It's not easy to do. You got to want it. You got to choose it. You got to allow yourself not to do it today and do it again tomorrow. I can remember, used to really haunt me. Dr. Joe said, don't get up until you feel the change. Man, I would have starved to death in my seat if I didn't get up before I changed, because I'd sit here and not feel a change for days. And I just remember I'd finish the meditation and go, fine, I'll be back tomorrow. I did. That was my tough guy conversation with my inner resistances. Isn't that funny? But I knew then that if I kept doing it, I would get there. I made a long video of my testimony. It's in my YouTube page, Race Quest, Body and Mind. And the name of it is Do the Work, Get the Promise. And it's like a 2-hour testimony of my struggles and stuff like that. My story is that I got an attitude. I heard Dr. Joe said, you do the work, you get the promise. And I took him at his word and I went at it. And I wouldn't allow myself to fail. Oh, I failed every day. It was just, I said nothing happened, nothing happened. But that wasn't failing. Failing was quitting. And I was not going to quit. What was the promise? The promise, if I changed my energy, I changed my life. On page 212. When we make a decision that strongly and have a clear intention for what our new reality will be, the clarity, coherence of those thoughts produce corresponding emotions. As a result, our internal chemistry changes. Our neurological makeup is altered. We prune all synaptic connections and sprout new ones. And we even express our genetic code differently. I was shocked out of my chair. I said, what do you mean I can change my genetic expression? I thought genes are something, that's what you were born with, that's who you are, tough luck. No, that is what old science used to teach. That's not now. You change your energy, and the very DNAs of your cells change what they do. They are not fixed. I'm not saying you change your DNA. I'm saying you change the DNA expression. Did you know the DNAs can express all kind of different proteins? Yeah, many, many different kinds of proteins. You change the energy, you bring it in, and you change that energy profoundly. And your DNAs will tell your body to do something different. When it was my turn, I changed the DNA, and my cancer ended. I went to the doctor 2 weeks later in surgery, and they cut me open, and all the tumors were gray. They died in my body. There was no blood in the tumors. The nerves had withered, and my tumors had died. They weren't healing. They just turned gray, and my body was, so they just took out the big one and said, close it up. I've got numerous cancer surgeries. The only one I don't have a scar for is that one. That one healed so completely that I don't even have a scar to show somebody to brag about it. You change your energy, even your DNA changes what it does. Goodness sakes, that was mind blowing to me. Before I'm over on 213. Before I wrap up this chapter, I want to bring up a subject I referred to in Evolve Your Brain. Some of you are new here. If you're a heady kind of guy that I was, Dr. Joe's first book was this one. This is actually his first book he wrote. It is the subtitled The Science of Changing Your Mind. There is absolutely no meditation in it. There is absolutely no mysticism in it. There is absolutely nothing but science in this book. That was one of the most challenging books I have read in a very long time. But when I was done reading that book, one of the things I knew that Dr. Joe doesn't say or do anything he hasn't validated by science. Even the way he does his meditation, space within the space. He's got groups of people with EEG so that he can see how they respond to his voice going space. I couldn't imagine it, but he says in the book, yeah, they test that stuff. It's done very deliberately. Buddhist monks who were studied at the University of Wisconsin Medicine, these super meditators. Yeah, this is the story of the monks who they tested, went deep into meditation. They said, go walk around town, then come back and we'll check you again. They checked them, and they kept their high energy even though they walked around town. I thought that was pretty cool. In time, you can repeatedly create internal coherence like those monks did. You too may walk into an external environment and no longer suffer the self-limiting effects of those disruptive stimulus. And because of that, you won't experience the knee-jerk reaction that formerly forced you to retain the old familiar stuff. That is what I was talking about when I said I used to walk up to veterans when I was at the VA hospital and shake their hand and say, hello, let me buy a cup of coffee. Just so I can stop reacting to their energy. Now I go up and say hi, and I sincerely want to greet them. I see somebody with a bad day, and I'll walk up to them because I've got the patience of abundance that I have something in me to give somebody and see if I can help them have a little bit better day. Because if they're in that hospital, it's because their life has problems. And sometimes it just needs somebody sane to talk to for a short while, and so I do. By persisting with meditation and creating coherence within, this little thing is what I learned to create coherence with at HeartMath Institute. You will not only remove a lot of negative physical conditions like that plague your body, but you can also progress toward the new ideal self and vision. Because my energy was not spent fighting boogeymans of my past. I could start building habits, goals, and skill sets like what I'm doing here, that I can have something to give for the first time in my life. Wow, I'm 70, I'm in my 70s, I'm 76, and this is the first time in my life I've had a part to give. And I have people who receive it. I can't tell you how thankful I am that I have someone to give my gift to. Mm. The knowledge you gained has allowed you to ascend to this point. Now you're ready to apply everything you've learned. So I invite you briefly to take a look back with appreciation for the information you acquired, part 1 and 2. You've learned the foundation. Next week, we start a new meditation. It's a little bit longer than the 3 blessings of the energy centers. And it will take you places that one doesn't take you. And I suggest you buy it and use it and practice it. It's important in the lessons of building so that you're ready for the more advanced meditations that we get to later on the year. Okay. So Nita, I saw you sneak your hand up there for a little while and then you changed your mind.
I just wanted to ask a question.
Sure.
So,
This is discussion group. I'm glad somebody talks to me. Golly, guys. Go
yeah,
ahead,
so,
Sunita.
so the question was, when you said you change your energy, you mean, I just want to be sure that I'm understanding it correctly. It means change it from being just a negative, or if you're an angry person, to just positive. Is that what it really means, or is that?
No, that's generally correct. But I was talking to one lady, she says, I've got a good life. I'm successful. I'm a happy person. What do I change? I
Yeah,
said,
that was my underlying
I
question.
thought you were going there because you look like you're a pretty together person. She says, I'm not sick. I'm happy. I've got a good life. What do I need to change? if you had any idea of the infinite potential that you already are, if you knew that you are already an electrical energy being of divine light, luminous to the stars, eternal in your presence, walking with angels every moment of your existence, loved by the divine, heir to the throne. If you knew you were already that, then we might not have something to say. But I'm telling you, I've seen it. It is, I run out of words, right? And I get so emotional every time I rehearse it. Find a way to learn who you, let me say that better. I get poked. It's not about who you are. People think who you are is the issue. I've learned it's not about who you are. You already know you're a daughter of the divine, but you haven't learned what you are. The what turns the key to the door. You might have the door's address, the who, but the what is what opens the door. The what is that you are a luminous energy being of divine light. You already are. You just don't know it. So start going, Ray says I'm a divine person. I want to find that person. I want to find that person. This is what I started to say to help me find. I love the chance of being able to say it every recording. I am. Remember, even in ancient Egypt, there was a crazy guy who stood before the Pharaoh and went, I am. I am an energy being. I am an electrical energy being. I am a luminous electrical energy being. I am an eternal luminous electrical energy being. I am an eternal, I'm divinely child, eternal electrical luminous energy being, and I am inheritor to the infinite potential, and I receive the all that's there for me. I can't even say it without getting emotional. That goes through me. Oh my goodness, it's like when you can say that and start putting it on. Remember, this is not an affirmation you speak out. Don't do that. You'll throw it away. That's like throwing it away. This is a declaration that you, the consciousness, is declaring into your body. It's like saying, Daddy's home. I am. And I get this electrical rush through my body every time I do that. When you start knowing this is not you, but you are an electrical energy being. Mm-mm. Good. Thanks for being here, Cheryl. That is your future potential. Say, Ray says I'm electrical energy being. I want to know what that's like. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that be like? There. Good to see you, Cheryl. Good to see you, Terry. Okay, people are checking out, and it's getting late. Okay, I'm going to turn off the recording because sometimes time to end the recording. Thank you for being here.